You're listening to Crazy Shit in Real Estate. You'll be amazed at all these wild but true situations that others have found themselves in. Because on this show, you'll hear uncensored, unbelievable stories from the world of real estate. I'm Leigh Brown. Let's dive right in.
Before you get the rest of the story, I'd love to share a quick message from today's sponsor.
Hey, y'all, just going to take a quick break from this conversation to let you know about the sponsor of today's episode. That sponsor is, well, frankly, it's me. It's Leigh Brown University. Look, it's no secret that real estate is crazy competitive, getting more so every day. And when the pie doesn't get any bigger, but the people wanting a piece of it do, you've got to figure out a competitive advantage. And that's why I created Leigh Brown University. It's everything you need from soup to nuts, cradle to grave, point A to point B, whatever point B is. Each of you has different goals. So maybe you're a new to the career realtor, or you're a super experienced pro who can't figure out that next level. There's something in my course that's going to help you break through. It's designed for you before I even met you. So enroll in Leigh Brown University today. You go to www.leighbrownu.com and I'll see you there. Now, back to this amazing content. Hello, friends. I'm Leigh Brown. You've landed on Crazy Shit in Real Estate. Today, we're going to talk about the exciting world of judgments and liens and bankruptcies, foreclosures, and things that really do require a professional realtor, whether you realize it or not. So you're going to meet my good friend Danielle Fontes from California. She is in San Bernardino County, Inland Empire, Glendora, Rancho. She's in that specific area. You're really going to enjoy this. You're going to learn something. So I'll see you on the other side. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
Finally. I mean, I know you've got stories to tell. So tell my audience where you're located, how long you've been in real estate. Give them a little bit of Danielle backstory.
Okay. So I'm Danielle Fontes. I am from Glendora, California, and that is in Southern California, a bit inland of Pasadena. I'm right on the border of Los Angeles and San Bernardino County. So I drive 10 minutes and we lose $200,000 in FHA loan limits, which is always fun. I know.
Oh, that's one way to describe your area. That's really shocking.
Yeah, because they go by the average for the county. And so LA County, San Bernardino County, very different price points.
So does $200,000 get you that different of a house over the county line?
Not too, I mean, you basically get an extra bedroom and sometimes a little bit more upgraded. So you got to cross the freeway though. So traffic is.
It adds like what, 45 minutes?
20 minutes usually, at least. Yeah.
But you know, in a pandemic era with people working from home or homeschooling and everything else, an extra bedroom could be worth the 20 minutes across the freeway. Has that changed your business at all?
Definitely the Inland Empire, San Bernardino County area has boomed and they've had better price increases this past year than LA County. LA County was about 20%, Inland Empire is about 25%. But also they added 2 more Amazon distribution centers out there. That definitely helped as well.
You know, our Amazon distribution center is cranking like all the time. It's a little disturbing and exciting and weird. I just can't describe it. It very much feels like we're in some alternate universe because all those little vans leave at the same time and there's like so many of them on the road. It's just weird.
Yeah, no, they're definitely a staple out here. You see them all the time.
I'll be interested to see how long UPS and FedEx stay in business with Amazon being so huge in the delivery space now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely just the distribution. I mean, they have it down to a science too. And just in my area, I'm lucky that I can order something like Amazon Prime 7, 8 o'clock at night, and it'll be here this morning.
Oil by that. It's hard for small local business to compete with that. Yet y'all have a thriving little revitalized downtown area. And the businesses there seem to be finding a way, even in an Amazon world.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely just culture thing that everybody kind of supports small business. They want their neighbors, and who's going to sponsor your soccer team, Amazon or the local bakery. And so I think that's definitely kind of a culture for the area. A lot of the little small towns out here have their small businesses that they like to support.
And I would say that is a crazy thing about real estate is that people in these smaller areas, whether you're outside of a giant city, like you guys are outside of LA, or you're way out in the middle of a rural area, the more concentrated there's a downtown area, it seems like there's more of a concerted effort to support local business, which supports the commercial real estate in areas like that. And of course, California has been one of the most shut down economies during the COVID era. And I know that you primarily do residential, but as a volunteer leader, and frankly, you live there, you see what happens in commercial. Do you think there's a difference in the commercial market in your revitalized downtown area versus, say, the giant big box areas out near the interstate closer to the city?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. And I technically live in LA County, so I get all those extra rules as well. So I joke, my headquarters for my office is in San Bernardino County. So I go over there, like, forget a mask, I feel like I'm illegal. But no, the smaller, I mean, just smaller square footage buildings in general are doing much better than the big box stores. I know we have a Kohl's just right off the freeway here in Glendora, and they actually just opened a Sephora inside the Kohl's.
Oh.
So they're like leasing out their big box store to kind of other franchises and stuff. And so creating partnerships. And I think that's something that we'll see in the future is kind of like we have food courts. We're going to have that with stores as well, because if you really need something.
And they're smart to pick up Sephora, because those of us that are addicted to Sephora will go to any Sephora anywhere to get something, because I mean, I think everybody I know is a Rouge member, because like, I'll try this. I want to try this. There's things you can try, and it's always fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something. And then they can expand because they don't do too much makeup or stuff. So they'll be able to expand their clientele and stuff like that anyway. So it's a good pair, I think. So I think that's interesting. Just the bigger box stores they're getting creative. They're figuring it out because they're all stuck in these like 20, 30-year leases. So, I mean, that's why I don't think we've seen the huge changes, because
Right.
the leases for commercial are so long. But
meanwhile, if you went to downtown LA, it'd be an entirely different story altogether, I'm sure.
yeah, it's pretty ghost town still. Even Pasadena, I was in Pasadena a couple months ago, and it was eerily empty, but the restaurants people were there eating, and that's about it. Like, they're not really shopping or walking around and things like that. You kind of go to your destination and then get out.
See, and that's just not healthy, man. I don't want to go somewhere and in and out. I want to go and meander around and check this out and what's over here, which is why I fell in love with your Marshalls, because when I'm ever out in Glendora, that's a good Marshalls. But anyway, so you've been in real estate for a while, and you know that we like to know what happens in the real life world of real estate. So Danielle, I cannot wait to hear what crazy story you decided to share with the world today about your journey in real estate. What's the crazy shit you've encountered?
Well, I think one story I'm going to tell today is it's very current. And I even just had an update from like a half hour ago that we get to add. But I think it's something that we're going to see in the future, just with all the COVID things and people being in their houses and doing weird things in their houses and on title. It was a land listing in LA for $840,000 because it's LA, but it was almost 3 acres, which is really big for us. And in escrow, everything, buyers getting hard money loan. So nothing too crazy with that. About the buyer had signed their loan docs. They were getting ready to wire the funds. And I get a call from my title rep and my escrow officer, because we have both here in Southern California, which isn't a good thing when they both call you around the same time. We already knew there was one judgment on the property, but we had the funds to cover it. The property's also in foreclosure, so we have a bit of a ticking clock. And then there's also back taxes, because
so it wasn't you have back taxes if you got everybody else on the hook.
Yeah, so it wasn't the cleanest prelim to begin with, but we were definitely fine cash wise, and everything was going to clear out with like some extra, like 100,000 extra. But the calls that I get were, we found 3 more judgments on the property that just popped up. And this is like right when we're about to push the button. So, and one of them was for 250,000.
Of course it was.
Yes.
And you had 100,000 leftover equity, and now we got a new judgment for 250.
Yes. And then the other ones were only like 40,000. So
And
But
they
yeah,
wouldn't.
so obviously I first called the buyer's agent because I was repping the seller. I'm like, do not fund your loan because like I don't want to deal with that angry call later when they pull all the cash out of their retirement account and then get all the penalties. Yeah. So fortunately we stopped it before that. And then we've just been trying to negotiate. And as of 2 days ago, of course, when you're traveling, good things happen usually. So they were able to negotiate the $250,000 off just to his primary residence, and they're only charging him $60,000 to do that. So we negotiated all the judgments down, and we are officially in the green, barely. And we just need to get the demand from the foreclosure company, and they were really paying the last time. They don't respond to emails or anything, or even though they legally have to give a demand, but it's fine. And that seems like the easiest part right now. But my client's assistant called me this morning. She's like, oh, does he have anything that he needs to sign in person? And I'm like, no, he already notarized. Yeah. And I was like, he already signed the notary. So like what is it called? The deed title. So I was like, the last time we were supposed to close, and that's still good. She's like, okay, good. Cause he has COVID. So
because of course, why wouldn't he have COVID with everything else going on?
Yeah. And she's like, he has COVID. So he can't get like his stuff off the property. It's like one, like just storage thing off the property right now. And I was like, oh, that's the least of everybody's worries. It's land. They're not going to be doing anything for a while anyway. I'm like, okay, we'll just put in writing that he's going to remove it by like September 15th or something like, but yeah. So, I mean, hopefully I told my title rep we're not celebrating this until it's stamped by the county done.
Yeah, totally in the record books.
Yeah, but it's looking more promising because forecloses next Friday. Yeah, I know.
So for our listeners and viewers, I feel like we should break down for y'all.
Yes, there's lots of real estate terms. So
all the things that happen here. So let's start with judgments. And it's one of those things that when you're the realtor and you're showing a house, you're showing a piece of land, you're showing a building to a client, there's a list price, there's a building, you have no idea what's underneath the surface. And unfortunately, a lot of listing realtors don't know what's underneath the surface. I will say that it was a great habit that agents picked up during the recessionary era. Hey, how many loans do you have on this property? What's going on? They had to ask because so many properties were underwater, but in an increasing market, which we've now been in for a few years, there's a lot of agents who are like, oh, you want 500? Shazam, and they list it and they don't ask questions. So you don't even uncover a lot of this stuff until you're way deep in the process. You've got deposits in play. You've got title companies, escrow companies, or in some states, attorneys retained, and then they start to crop up. So if you're a viewer or a listener, a judgment would basically be you owe a bunch of money to somebody and they have gone through the legal process to say, you gonna give me my money. That's basically what it boils down to. The IRS can put a judgment on you, and so can your state Department of Revenue. You can have them from credit card companies and from medical bills and from student loans and anybody you owe money to that you didn't pay. I mean, except for loan sharks. I don't think loan sharks file judgments. I think they just come after your kneecaps, if I remember that correctly. But anybody else could do it. They crop up in divorce situations. They crop up in job loss situations. So my question to you, after giving our viewers and listeners a tiny brief explanation of that, is did the listing agent have any clue that all of this stuff was going on in the foreclosure process, or did they assume it was all already being handled?
I was listing agent and I did not. And the reason the other ones that came up at the end, they were under his business, not his personal.
So you wouldn't have known.
Yeah. And he actually, sellers out there, because I know consumers listen to pod, be very transparent with your agent. So you're not figuring this out, because he didn't even tell me the property was under foreclosure until I found out from escrow when we opened.
So he told you everything was fine because he probably figured the market was hot enough that he could just sell it and slide all this under the rug.
Yeah. And so the ones that were on his business showed up at the end because in well, at least how we do it down here, there's the statement of information form that they have to fill out with all their different business names and stuff, and title runs it. So they just do a double check right before we're closing kind of thing, just like your lender double checks your credit right before closing, make sure you still have a job. So it was one of those that popped up because a couple of them, the $250,000 one wasn't filed until after we already opened escrow. as well. So wouldn't it
It
come
was a
up?
brand new one.
Yeah. But he's new because he went to court and was there when it got filed against him. But he didn't think it would show up on that because the address for that property wasn't on the judgment, but his business name is. So it attaches to people.
If you're the realtor, you got to ask questions, right? But Danielle's exactly right. If you're the buyer or the seller, when we ask you anything, give us more than we ask for, because this is a guy that could have even negotiated a better deal if he had let sooner in the process. Because you did mention that new giant lien that showed up for $250 did get negotiated down. So who handled that? Did he have his business attorney handle that, or did the foreclosure attorney help out?
His business attorney handled all of the negotiations. So
you notice Danielle didn't say, I handle it. She ain't a lawyer. Look, y'all, if you've got these kind of things that come up, and maybe you've got a small business and you're thinking, this is going on with me, I got to tell somebody, look, you can call your realtor. We probably have a business attorney we could hook you up with if you don't have one. Our job is to be the source of the source so we can put things together. And so when you found out there was foreclosure imminent and the title company said, hey, red flag, what was your seller's response to this? Was he like, oh man, I forgot to tell you, or did he pretend it wasn't happening, or what was his reaction to this? I'm always amazed that people think we're not going to find out. We always find out.
It's definitely the more head in the sand type of response. His wife was more just grateful that it was getting done because she was more, I think, probably carried the stress of the situation a bit more, but he was definitely like, oh, this is not a big deal. Like, I'm like, no, this is, because like, you're going to kill your credit. If we don't make this deadline, then you're going to lose this. Well, at the time he had equity, and like, and you're still going to owe the taxes because those don't go away. They're going to get their money. So it's kind of like one of those type of situations, but it was going well until those other judgments popped up. And so it wasn't as big of a deal, like time crunch wise and stuff.
And I'm also going to point out this whole wild thing that you've been constantly navigating, and you're changing directions and changing roads. We got to get somebody else. And it's wild. It's why you hire a realtor, because if you're trying to navigate something like this, a regular person might think, well, I don't have to pay the commission dollars, then I can satisfy one of my liens. And maybe they think those dollars could be allocated elsewhere. But the reality is you're in a very serious and real timeline here where if it's not resolved, there's going to come a moment when you go over the dam and there's no response there. You're the one that kept things moving. We found this out. Let me ask this question. Let's go do this. Let's go do this. And so you're responding in real time, which is the mark of a professional realtor. And also why, look, y'all, if you ever hear realtors complain about each other, the number one thing we complain about amongst ourselves is poor communication, which leads to a lack of professionalism, because you can't hide from things like this. You just have to plow right through. So my question to you is, how does he feel now? I can tell the wife is probably super relieved that this chapter is going to get closed and they can recover, regroup, you can make the money back, but the stress obviously does build up. How is he feeling, and has he thanked you for your work in this process? Does he recognize the wild minefield y'all have wandered into? I'm just so curious about the reaction now that you're making your way through.
He showed a little gratitude. I mean, he's one of those clients that I've probably spoke more to his assistant than him and his attorney, just because he's working and just he delegated everything. So, I mean, and to get things done, I'm going to talk to the people that are going to get things done. And he's just working and doing whatever he wants. But he did send me a thank you text the other day. So I think that's about as much gratitude I'm getting, but I'll definitely be hitting up the wife for a few reviews and stuff like that. So, and referrals.
Well, I guess when you don't hear much from him, to get a text that says thank you is kind of a big deal. So in perspective, it's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And I'm sure once, like I said, we're all still holding our breaths until we get that final stamp, just because it's been such a roller coaster. I think once it's really done, then we'll be good.
So one thing that you guys should know in the rest of the world is that with foreclosures, there's always a ticking clock, and it has to do with banks and courts, and there's all of these things happening. My question to you is, has your timeline been affected by COVID and by lockdowns? Has your courthouse been able to operate more remotely? Are they doing more electronic work than they did prior to the pandemic, or has that changed your timelines at all?
For this specific property, no, but I did have another client previously in the winter, I think it was February, buy a bankruptcy property, and they were just one of the bidders after. They weren't the initial offer. And that was all online, and it was amazing because I didn't have to drive to the LA courthouse right there. And we were all there just in the kitchen, like kind of in their kitchen. And I just brought my laptop and made sure there's no technical difficulties and stuff. And I did that part. And it was quick, seamless, like took 10 minutes out of our day instead of a half a day. And they got the property and you submit all your stuff digitally ahead of time. And that was way easier. And I'm sure they can't do that for everything real estate wise, but I mean, that kind of stuff, I mean, you literally, it's just an auction. So you just say yes randomly and unmute yourself, like, are you good or you're out? Like that's about it. So, I mean, that was easy and I think way better. So I think some of the digital court Zooms are very productive. And plus court's so scripted anyway. It's just kind of a formality these days, but yeah.
And it is funny, a lot of us, your reaction naturally is to complain about the changes of the COVID era and, oh, it's been awful and the shutdowns and blah, blah, blah. And those have been incredibly awful. But there have been some really bright spots. And one of them is that some of our very antiquated systems, like the courthouse with bankruptcy kind of proceedings, have been able to be really made efficient through technology, since people now understand this is a very valid way of communicating and getting things done. And it's actually one of the things the realtors are promoting nationally is making permanent these electronic notary authorizations that happened during the COVID era, because many of them were temporary solutions that many of us in the business field should be made permanent to make life easier for our clients and also let them close the chapter on their challenging lives sometimes, whether it's bankruptcies or foreclosures or divorces, so they can move on, because people go through hiccups, and real estate, that's what they hire you for, to help figure out how to navigate it, figure it out and move on. So now, Danielle, if somebody's looking for a realtor who obviously just doesn't get flapped, you are the unflappable Danielle. They need somebody in California that can help them, and maybe they want to know more about the values in San Bernardino County. How can they reach out to you?
My cell phone number is 626-512-1826. And then my website is daniellefontes.net. And that's probably the easiest way, or any social media stuff. I mean, I'm a millennial, so I'm on all of them, I think, except for TikTok. It's
probably not worth it. I mean, although that one guy's running for governor of California on the recall ballot, and he's a YouTuber. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he gets through on a social media following. That's kind of wild. But anyway, all that notwithstanding, all of Danielle's links, information, and social handles are in the show notes for this episode. You should reach out, because she's not just out there selling houses and helping people figure this out. She's also one of our amazing volunteer leaders. And thank you for what you're doing to help make your peers better and make real estate better in that whole area that you serve. I appreciate you for doing that.
No, thank you. And thanks for having me on.
All right, guys, you give the show 5 stars, because that's the nice thing to do. And you share it with a friend, because you totally should. Realtors should look out for each other, and so should regular people, because y'all learned something today. Admit it. Make sure you tune in next time, and we'll see you with more stories from the real world of real estate. As always, I'm so super thrilled that you joined in for more crazy shit. And if you're a realtor, investor, inspector, lender, or just a regular human being who happens to have an unbelievable story that you need to tell the world about, or frankly, you just need to one-up the story you just heard, then make sure to DM me on Instagram at Leigh Thomas Brown, or tweet me at Leigh Brown, or frankly, any social network where you hang out. I'm there. And if you had some fun, then you totally want to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.